things not going so great for young Kellen Moore in his maiden voyage here with the New Orleans Saints. The Saints were blown out by the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday, 44-13, and I'm not surprised they lost the game, picked them to lose the game, as I'm sure many of you did. They were a touchdown road underdog in one of the, historically, what is one of the tougher places to play, certainly in the last 20 years in the NFL. And this is just not a very good New Orleans Saints football team. So I'm not surprised they lost. I think they're going to lose a lot of games this year. How they lost is the thing that's certainly discouraging because you continue to see a lot of the undisciplined mistakes. 11 more penalties, just an atrocious effort on special teams where you had a punt blocked. You allowed a punt return for a touchdown. You allowed a 60-yard kickoff return, which set up a short field touchdown. You missed a field goal for the third consecutive week. You blocked a punt, but were offsides on the blocked punt, so that was negated. Just a lot of, or field goal, I should say, a lot of very poor play, undisciplined play that go along with being a bad team and one that is also poorly coached. Kellen Moore, after this game, was asked about his team's lack of discipline, and he didn't, unfortunately, have a lot to say about it.
We're not clean enough. We're not clean enough. Too many penalties again, and too many of them, they're under our control. There's judgment penalties in every single game, but the ones that we can control, we can't have that. We got to do a better job.
That's always going to be a reflection on coaching and culture and the staff and all that sort of stuff. But I think the big question that a lot of people have right now is how did it get so bad? You can understand as a team is rebuilding, not winning a bunch. But going from a team that isn't expected to contend to a team that is losing as badly as they did on Sunday and is now a 16.5-point road underdog at Buffalo this week, people wonder how did it get so bad? And to me, this is just very obvious. Like, this is the manifestation of what Mickey Loomis has done in New Orleans and built over really more than a decade. And the decisions that they made that put all these into motion. Like, just for example, you have to build in the NFL. You have to build your roster through the draft. It's how you get young, affordable talent. That's what happened for New Orleans in 2017 when they drafted Marshawn Lattimore and Alvin Kamara, who both were the NFL Rookies of the Year on their respective sides of the ball. You drafted Ryan Ramczyk, who became a perennial All-Pro at the time, was the highest-paid right tackle in the NFL. You drafted Marcus Williams, who was a starter, Alex Anzalone, who was a key player, Trey Hendrickson, who became a starter. Like, you ended up drafting 6 really key players in one draft, and boom, you were a contender again after missing the playoffs 3 consecutive years. Well, how did you miss the playoffs 3 consecutive years? We'll go back and look at those drafts. In 2014, you drafted Brandon Cooks, Stanley Jean-Baptiste, Kyrie Fort, Vinny Cincinnati, Ronald Powell, and Tavon Brooks. The only guy in that whole draft class that became a pro was Brandon Cooks. And you traded him after a couple of seasons. In 2015, Andrews Pete, Stephon Anthony, miss. Haoli Kikaha, miss. Garrett Grayson, miss. P.J. Williams, miss. Davis Tull, miss. Tyler Davison, miss. Damian Swan, miss. Marcus Murphy, miss. You missed on everybody. Even your first-round pick, Pete, who you drafted to be a tackle, ended up playing guard because he couldn't play tackle. 2016, you hit on Rankins, Mike Thomas, Von Bell, David Onyemata. Daniel Lasco was your other draft pick. So you had some talent there, an infusion there, and then 2017 happened the way it did. And my feeling then was, okay, they'd brought in Jeff Ireland. They have this draft class. They get the benefit of the doubt. Well, look at what's happened subsequent. In 2018, Marcus Davenport, Traquan Smith, Rick Leonard, Natrell Jamerson, Cameron Moore, Boston Scott, Will Clapp. A disaster of a draft class. A year later, you don't have a first-round pick because you traded up for Marcus Davenport. So you take Eric McCoy, C.J. Garner-Johnson, Saquon Hampton, Alize Mack, and Caden Ellis. McCoy became a starter for you. Garner-Johnson was a very good player, but you ended up trading him, and you missed on everybody else. Ellis, who became a player, ends up playing for Atlanta. In the COVID year, you make 4 picks. Cesar Ruiz, Zach Bond, Adam Troutman, Tommy Stevens. Bond's the worst starter, Ruiz is the worst starter at his position in the league. Bond could never get on the field for you. He goes to a good organization and ends up being a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Troutman was a bust with you, and Tommy Stevens didn't make the team. 2021, you want me to keep going? Peyton Turner, Pete Werner, Paulson Adebo, Ian Book, Landon Young, Kawan Baker. You bust on Peyton Turner. You hit on Pete Werner and Paulson Adebo, but Adebo's now with another team, and the second half of your draft was a disaster. Olave Penning, Alontae Taylor, DeMarco Jackson, Jordan Jackson. Olave's a number 2. Trevor Penning can't stay on the field. Alontae Taylor is probably playing out of position. You want me to keep going? 2 years ago, Brian Brzee, Isaiah Foskey, Kendre Miller, Nick Saldiveri, Jake Haener, Jordan Howden, A.T. Perry. Your drafts are disasters. That's why your roster stinks. You continue to draft poorly. Well, who's in charge of the draft? Your general manager is. So you draft poorly. You don't respect your future draft capital because you keep trading it away. You combine that with an atrocious approach to the salary cap where they are perennially kicking the can down the road, which now is starting to rectify because you're getting some of those awful contracts off the books because of a hard reset. And so when you look at the fact that you've been awful in the NFL draft, so you've not had good young talent on affordable rookie deals. You made zero investment in your quarterback. Obviously, literally, the New Orleans Saints, per percentage of the salary cap, have the smallest investment in the most important position in organized team sport as any team in the NFL right now at quarterback. You've been awful in the draft. You've been awful on the offensive line, despite your investment in the offensive line with 4 first-round picks on your offensive line. That's still one of your worst units. So despite the fact that you've invested there in the draft, you've missed, you've drafted poorly, you've developed poorly. And then you got a general manager that's comparing the likes of Dennis Allen to Chuck Noll, Tom Landry, Bill Belichick, and Bill Walsh. He's delusional. You've got a delusional general manager that thinks he's doing everything right, despite the fact that I just read for you a decade worth of crap in the NFL draft, an approach in to the salary cap, which literally none of the other 31 teams use, but I'm sure he's got it all figured out, right? None of the other 31 teams use that approach because it hamstrings your ability to sign free agents, sign your own free agents, and you've misevaluated your talent as well. I just mentioned Zach Bond. You want to go down the list of guys who were in New Orleans that you chose not to pay and had to go elsewhere? You didn't pay Marcus Williams. You suck at safety. You didn't pay Trey Hendrickson. You have no pass rushers. Like, they've misevaluated their own talent. They've given bad contracts in free agency. They've drafted poorly. They've mismanaged the quarterback situation. The Derek Carr deal and subsequent restructures were an abject failure and disaster, which hamstrings you. It's all why you're in the situation you are. You draft poorly and you have no money to spend in free agency. Nobody wanted to come coach your team, so you're left with a 37-year-old first-time head coach who seems like he's in over his head, coaching a talentless roster that doesn't seem like they're interested in listening to him or being any better, which is why you see the undisciplined penalties and the awful performance that we did on Sunday in Seattle. My only hope for this team is that eventually Gail Benson recognizes just how awful this product is, and the architect of this awful product is Mickey Loomis, and she moves him out. Now, I understand that years ago when Rita and Gail were feuding, there were lines drawn in the sand. And those in the organization that sided with Gail Benson, when she won, they were made men. And Mickey Loomis is in that number. It's why he's never going to get fired. I get that. But can we move him out of the general manager role into a spot where he just sits in the suite, eats popcorn like the owner in Rookie of the Year, where he's fired up about getting a ring in a Cracker Jack box, but he's not actually doing anything? Like, can we have that reality with Mickey Loomis? Let him hang out. Let him smack him. Let him go down on the field before the game. Let him sit in the suite. But get someone in there who actually has some creative ideas about how to move this organization forward in a fiscally responsible manner. Someone who has a better eye at not only evaluating talent, but coaches and talent evaluators to bring on staff to be able to draft better. Like, I'm not crushing the guy because of one bad draft. I just went back to 2014. With the exception of the 2017 draft, it has been a disaster. And he keeps trading future assets. That's how it ends up the way it is right now in New Orleans. It's him. And with every passing day, every passing year, as the sample size grows, you continue to realize that the success the New Orleans Saints organization had was solely on the shoulders of Sean Payton and Drew Brees, and that Mickey Loomis was just riding sidecar. And the second they were gone, his incompetence has been exposed, which is why they were terrible before Payton and Brees, and they're terrible again now without Payton and Brees. Because he, Mickey Loomis, is a bad general manager. I would argue the worst general manager in football because of the now 2 different stints sandwiched by this incredible era of Payton Brees to display his incompetence without them, before and after. Yale's got to do the right thing. It's really their only way out of this. Because as long as he's in that role, they'll never win again. So, just wait it out. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.